Hello and welcome to Firstpost Africa, where we get you the top stories from the continent and from across the world. I'm Joshua Barnes, coming to you live from the Firstpost studios. First, let's take a look at the headlines. Russian President Vladimir Putin says Moscow is ready for uninterrupted shipments of fuel to India. He is on his first state visit to the country since the beginning of the war in Ukraine. Germany's foreign minister says the country does not need outside advice after US President Donald Trump's administration released a new security strategy document that strongly criticized allies in Europe. The UN warns that Tanzania has stepped up its crackdown on opponents after contested elections in October that were marked by deadly violence. Rights groups say more than 1,000 people were shot dead during 3 days of protests. Istanbul prosecutors ordered the arrest of 29 football players among 46 people as part of a sprawling investigation into illegal betting on Turkish matches. And TikTok says it will comply with Australia's imminent ban on under-16s joining social media on the day it comes into force. Told users the changes may be upsetting. Hello and welcome. Let's begin with US President Donald Trump, who yet again has given another attempt at ending a war. The Republican leader and the presidents of DRC and Rwanda signed a peace deal to end the conflict in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. It is one of Africa's longest wars. The latest peace deal was signed in a peace institute in Washington, which has recently been renamed after Trump. The US president hailed the deal as a miracle, calling it a new chapter for the region.
It's going to be a great miracle. These two gentlemen are leaders, they're great leaders, and they're going to prove that in the coming months and years. And I think you're going to see very immediate results.
Trump also announced that the US had signed deals on critical minerals with the two countries. The violence-torn eastern DRC has reserves of many key ingredients in modern technologies such as electric cars.
I think they've spent a lot of time killing each other, and now they're going to spend a lot of time hugging, holding hands, and taking advantage of the United States of America economically like every other country does. Today, the United States is also signing our own bilateral agreements with the Congo and Rwanda that will unlock new opportunities for the United States to access critical minerals and provide economic benefits for everybody. And we'll be involved with sending some of our biggest and greatest companies over to the two countries. And we're going to take out some of the rare earth and take out some of the assets and pay, and everybody's going to make a lot of money.
The leaders of Rwanda and the DRC also hailed the peace brokered by the US president.
I want to believe that this day marks the beginning of a new path, a demanding path, certainly difficult, but a path where peace is no longer just a wish, but a goal. The Democratic Republic of Congo will fully play its part with dignity, with awareness and consistency, and with the support of its partners.
It's up to us in Africa, working with our partners to consolidate and expand this peace. There will be ups and downs on the road ahead. There is no doubt about it. Rwanda, I know, will not be found wanting. I can assure you of that.
But despite the optimism and promises, fighting rages in eastern DR Congo. The long-simmering conflict exploded in late January as the M23 captured the major cities of Goma and Bukavu. The M23 rebels have been gaining ground against Kinshasa's forces in recent weeks. The UN has accused Rwanda of backing the M23 rebels. In fact, violence continued on the ground even on the day of the signing of this peace deal. Clashes between the M23 rebels and the DRC army were reported in several areas of South Kivu province. A spokesperson for M23 also accused the government troops of bombing several civilian areas. The latest peace agreement was originally reached in June in Washington. DRC President Felix Tshisekedi and his Rwandan counterpart Paul Kagame met in Qatar in March, initiating the talks that led to the deal, and yesterday's ceremony finalized the accords. The Eastern DRC conflict is among the 8 wars that Trump has claimed to have ended since he returned to the White House in January. The number is disputable, though. His desire to win a Nobel Peace Prize is known by all. The Trump-brokered truce between DRC and Rwanda seems precarious as violence continues on the ground. But will President Trump's latest attempt to end one of the longest wars in Africa get him a Nobel Peace Prize? Now that remains to be seen. And for more on this story, we have with us Dr. Oluwole Ojewale. He is a regional coordinator for Central Africa at the Institute for Security Studies and security expert from Dakar in Senegal. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
We have seen previous US-backed peace deals between the DRC and M23 rebels or Rwanda, and Trump has hailed this deal as a miracle. What is different this time?
Thank you so much for having me once again. I think the difference this time is because President Trump is now in the full picture. The agreement that was signed in June was between the foreign ministers of both countries. And then this time around, there is a strong presidential backing, at least as we can see on the paper. And apart from few instances where external interlocutors have made attempt to break the truce, in which in most cases, like the EAC process, one party was absent in terms of signing the agreement and agreeing to some of the issues that were laid out in that meeting in Tanzania. And we've also had the Rwanda process, the Nairobi process. This is about the most significant attempt because, you know, of the strong backing of the United States of America, and knowing fully well that Trump has dedicated an envoy to the Great Lakes region and also inviting them to Washington for the first time. And seeing the two presidents actually coming into that meeting possibly signals some interest in finding a lasting solution to it. But as we might probably discuss in a subsequent conversation on this interview, it is not enough to have peace agreement on paper. What is really important is the deterrence that such agreement is going to foster on the ground, which I'm not sure is there now, knowing fully well that there are still pockets of attacks here and there, as we have shown on the screen.
Yes, absolutely. And of course, this conflict has run over decades. How has that decades of fighting impacted civilians?
Extremely impactful in a negative sense because of the widespread displacement, breakdown of governance in the Kivu region, in the Kivu provinces of South Kivu, in Bukavu, and in Goma, in which, as you've shown on the screen and as it has been widely reported, significant casualties have gone in terms of the sheer killings that we've seen, destruction of properties, and now that we now have what in most cases will be considered as rebel governance in Goma and Bukavu, I think that is the most significant epoch of this war that has been raging on for decades in episodic sense, almost 10 years after, and a lot of economic devastation has also taken place. These are the most consequential region after the Katanga province, where you have gold, diamond, and copper. In the Kivu provinces, we have a vast abundance and endowment of cotton, which is also a mainstay of both countries' economy. So I think it's a very, very serious disruption that has happened to the public health system, the infrastructure, education, the quality of life of the people. I've personally traveled to the Eastern DRC and I know what I saw and what is on ground now in terms of the sheer devastation that is taking place. And the fact is that it appears to be the forgotten war in the world now, because it has not received the kind of attention that the international community has given to the war in Gaza and then Russia war in Ukraine. So it appears to have been relegated to the back burner. And I think that accounts for the sheer humanitarian consequences of what we are seeing on ground in terms of devastation.
And Dr. Ojewale, finally, I want to look at Trump's influence in the continent. He, of course, is working to end this conflict, but he's spoken about rare earths, and his policies and opinions have often been divisive, if not majoritively divisive. How could this deal set a blueprint for Trump in Africa during his second term?
I think he made it clear yesterday that apart from signing the peace agreement, he's also signing economic deals to assess the rare earths that are available in the country, particularly in Eastern DRC, because that is where the region that is really mineral rich. So we are seeing a resurgence of extractive diplomacy, in the sense that why Donald Trump, on one hand, is helping to to bring the parties to the table, he was also extracting economic advantage, if I could put it that way, from these crises, in the sense that he sees it as a win-win approach anyway. But I think if he's really going to demonstrate that he really wants to work for the people on the ground, there's a need to use this peace signing agreement to also establish some modicum of deterrence. For instance, look at the kind of attention that the America has given to Ukraine, security guarantee. What form of security guarantee is Trump providing for the people now? What form of deterrence, military deterrence, is Trump trying to establish with this peace agreement that is going to support the peacekeeping operation? Because, like I said earlier, you can sign agreement, but for instance, if America is going to move their military armament and machinery to support any form of peacekeeping operation, whether through the African Union or MONUSCO in the region now, then we can really say that that is going to serve as a deterrence to the warring parties. But if that is not there, I think peace agreement has been signed on paper, and we have also seen the signing of business agreement on the sideline, which is going to promote extractive diplomacy, in which American corporations and businesses are going to have access to those resources. But it bears reminding that even that access can only be guaranteed in an atmosphere of peace. So when America has put its word forward, it's also very important to push forward any mechanism, military support mechanism for peacekeeping, that is also going to establish a deterrence to guarantee such peace for the lives of the people and to guarantee ease of doing business in the extractive sector in the region now.
Dr. Ojewale, thank you ever so much for joining us and providing that insight.
Thank you so much for having me.
Moving on to a story that sparked a national outrage in Somalia. US President Donald Trump has added more fuel to the fire by intensifying his crackdown against Somalis in America. Somalis in Minneapolis are now being arrested in a targeted immigration operation. The US Department of Homeland Security confirmed the arrests late last night. 12 people were picked up in Minneapolis, 5 of them Somali, the rest from Mexico and El Salvador. Homeland Security Assistant Secretary framed the detainees as the worst criminal aliens, listing crimes ranging from fraud and DUI to sexual conduct. Critics say this sweep is inseparable from Trump's public attacks. Most Somali families in Minneapolis are in panic, all because of Trump's own words.
Beautiful land, that beautiful state. It's a hellhole right now. And the Somalians should be out of here. They've destroyed our country.
City councillors say residents aren't leaving their homes. Not for work, not for groceries, not even for school runs.
People are afraid to get out of their houses. I am getting calls from my resident that I represent, City of Minneapolis, saying that, what should I do? Should I come out of the house? The ICE is here. They are going door to door. They are stopping folks on the streets, and They're not just targeting undocumented, they're targeting every Somali person.
This fear is also visible in local businesses. Somali-owned shops and cafes in Minneapolis are taking a hit. Owners say they're days away from losing everything.
The fear among the Somali community is real. Like this mall, if you come to like around noon, nobody's here. It is deserted. Every business is closed, and it has been like this for the last 3 days. They are not able to come and work and pay their rent. So I don't know what's going to happen. The future today, as of today, the future doesn't look bright.
And the uncertainty has triggered a very different response on the streets. Community patrols are active at all hours, tracking ICE agents' movements. Neighbours are alerting the immigrant community. Tensions have also spiralled into protests. Hundreds gathered outside the Minneapolis deportation facility to denounce Trump's remarks and the ongoing immigration raids. Many say they're fighting not just to protect their community, but the ideals of America itself.
They really feel real disgusting that he's dividing us by Somalis, Mexicans, Asians, black, white, and that's not what America is about. We have rights, and every single one of us has rights, and we're not scared about it.
Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey has fired back, calling Trump's attacks on the city's Somali community dangerous and divisive. He says Americans should love and respect Minnesota's Somali immigrants, who form the largest Somali community in North America and play a vital role in the city's culture and economy. On Tuesday, Trump had called Somali immigrants garbage during a televised cabinet meeting. He said he wants to send them back to where they came from. Trump's comments come after reports of government fraud in small pockets of Minneapolis, largely inhabited by Somali migrants. This is not the first time Trump has made such sort of comments about an African country. He had done it during his first term in office. Back then, when he came up with such remarks, outrage followed. Lawmakers, politicians, and even Republicans condemned it. But this time, there's something different. Now, his allies are amplifying and defending his statements. Members of Congress mostly stay silent, while Vice President J.D. Vance visibly backed Trump, even banging the table in agreement during the meeting when he called Somalis garbage. At the White House, Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt defended the president, calling his words amazing and describing the moment as epic. It signals just how much the rhetoric is being embraced within the administration. Civil rights advocates say these comments are not isolated. They're part of a pattern where Trump's racial language has grown bolder, more normalized, and increasingly accepted as politically permissible by his allies. Trump's crackdown has already stretched the community thin. The immigration crackdown has started. What's in the fate of Somalis is something we'll only know in the days ahead. Now to another African country at loggerheads with the United States. That's South Africa. Tensions are escalating between Washington and Pretoria, and yes, Trump is at the centre of it again. On Thursday, South African President Cyril Ramaphosa dismissed Trump's threat to exclude Pretoria from next year's G20. He told reporters South Africa is a founding and full member of the G20, not a guest to be invited. He also went on to say they expect to be treated equally and with respect.
The United States has said that South Africa will not be invited. We have not seen it in writing yet and are yet to receive an invitation. We'll deal with that when it comes. We're a full-fledged member of G20, and we have held a very successful G20. All we want really is to be treated as an equal sovereign country.
The US, now holding the G20 presidency, has officially barred South Africa from participating in all G20 events during its tenure. On Wednesday, Secretary of State Marco Rubio reiterated Trump's earlier statement. On his Substack account, he condemned South Africa for what he called radical agendas, alleging discrimination against the white Afrikaner minority. South Africa's Foreign Minister, Ronald Lamola, responded to Rubio's accusations in an open letter. He defended policies aimed at redressing apartheid-era inequalities. Lamola said Pretoria does not seek Washington's approval, but extends a hand for respectful partnership. South Africa's presidential spokesman said Pretoria is ready to skip all 2026 G20 events. South Africa will resume full participation when Britain takes over in 2027. Until then, he said, and I quote, "We're taking a commercial break until we resume normal programming." This standoff didn't start today. Trump has been hammering Pretoria for months. He's accused the South African government of racism against white Afrikaners, even alleging claims of a so-called white genocide numerous times since taking office.
Terrible things are happening in South Africa. The leadership is doing some terrible things, horrible things. So that's under investigation right now. We'll make a determination. And until such time as we find out what South Africa is doing, they're taking away land, they're confiscating land, and actually they're doing things that are perhaps far worse than that.
And these claims have been dismissed by South African courts and the president himself.
Donald Trump made a statement to the effect that South Africa would not be invited to participate in the G20 in the United States. He repeated untrue statements about genocide against Afrikaners and the confiscation of land from white people in our country.
And this dispute is about much more than just next year's G20 in Miami. Earlier this year, the Trump administration expelled South Africa's ambassador. They have already imposed 30% tariffs on key trade goods. Now, financial aid cutbacks threaten programs critical to fighting AIDS and economic development. The diplomatic standoff also highlights the growing role of Britain, which will host the G20 in 2027. Analysts predict that the UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer might act as a mediator to ease tensions between Washington and Pretoria.
Prime Minister Starmer, again, if he's still around, he's going to probably be the middleman in this situation to try to be able to say, listen, South Africa, count me as part of your trioca, which is to say, if you need anything with regards to this, let me manage that interplay so that this thing doesn't blow up as a whole.
This conflict between Washington and Pretoria is more than a diplomatic battle. The Trump administration's hardline stance risks isolating a key African nation. And at a time when multipolar cooperation is more critical than ever, it remains to be seen how South Africa asserts itself on the world stage despite this mounting pressure. And for our last story, we shift focus to the Sahel region. An EU envoy has sent a warning over the region's terrorist surge and the risk that poses to Europe's security. European Union's Special Representative for the Sahel, João Cravino, met Ghanaian President John Mahama in Accra. The meeting addressed challenges relating to regional security, governance and development in the volatile Sahel.
One thing we know about terrorist organizations is that they don't stay where they are. They are a curse not only for the populations immediately affected, but they are a threat for others. European security is threatened by the establishment of terrorist organizations in the region.
And this EU warning has substance. It comes amid long-running insurgencies from terrorists linked to Al-Qaeda and Islamic State. In fact, the Sahel region has become the world epicenter of terrorism, according to the latest Global Terrorism Index. The Sahel stretches across the western and north-central portion of Africa, from Senegal, Mauritania, the Gambia and Guinea-Bissau in the west, with Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger and Chad more centrally, to Sudan and Eritrea in the east. And of the nations in this region, 4 make up the 10 countries most impacted by terrorism globally. In 2024, the Sahel accounted for over half of all the world's terrorism-related deaths. Burkina Faso remains the most affected, with the nation seeing a fifth of all terrorism-related deaths globally. Mali recorded 604 terrorist deaths and has been crippled by a terrorist fuel blockade, impacting society and the economy while leading to severe electricity shortages. Last year, Niger recorded the largest increase in terrorism deaths globally, rising by nearly 100% to 930 people. Nigeria has seen a resurgence of kidnappings, with some linked to terror groups like Boko Haram. US President Donald Trump has also threatened military action over the killing of Christians at the hand of terrorists, claims the government has rebuffed. In Ghana, EU envoy Crivino warned that regional unregulated migratory flows was also a concern for Europe. Nations like Ghana and Mauritania have seen an influx of people fleeing conflicts after military takeovers and clashes. Crivino also praised Accra for being what he called a bridge between Mali, Niger and Burkina Faso, all run by juntas that have turned away from the West. For people living in many of the Sahel nations, terrorism is a real-life threat, and the European Union is warning that this threat goes beyond African borders. That's it on the show for today. We will see you again on Monday at the same time. Thanks for watching.